How's it going? This is Jordan Conrads here with the Gateway Pundit. I'm here with Liz Harris, leader of the canvassing operation, citizen-led canvassing operation out here in Maricopa County. So I want to get right to it. 34% of the people who quote unquote didn't vote, they say that they voted in the election. So basically their vote just wasn't counted.
That's correct. Right. And that's one of our biggest findings.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we're extrapolating, but so essentially what we did is we went to over 11,000 homes. We went to 11,708. And I just want to make it clear, this is just in the last 2 months. We've been canvassing since December. So we went to tens of thousands of registered voters, but we're just reporting this report is on our last 2 months of work. So we attempted 11,708 address or registered voters, and we actually got information from 4,570 of them. Okay, now there were 964 people that did not vote in the election. And that's one of the keys to the canvassing. You have to go to the people who did vote and the people who didn't vote. Because of the 964 people who didn't vote, or there's no record of them having voted in the state official canvass, 330 of them said that they indeed did vote. And that is where that 34.23% number comes from. It's about a third of people where there's no registered vote for them. And they're saying, oh, wait, yes, I did vote. And what's funny is after I did a few interviews this morning, my phone starts, I don't want to say blowing up, but I start getting accounts of all these people who said, well, that explains it. When, like they were told that, there's so many things. I'm getting all the stories. I went to the polling location. I was told I already voted, or, and again, there's just so many stories of one vote wrong here, one vote wrong there. And I've been saying from the beginning, this is like finding 100,000 needles in 100,000 haystacks.
That's right. So how did you pick these houses to canvass? What kind of issues gave them a red flag?
Okay, so we did a random sample. That's how we pretty much started at the beginning, but we made sure that we went to houses like if it were a 1,200 square foot home and there were 10 different last names coming from it, things like that. But more importantly, what we did in the last 2 months is we did full precinct audits and partial precinct audits. So what we did was we strategically did one on the west side, one in central Phoenix, and one on the east side. And that's pretty much, it's just picked places in different geographic areas. The demographics, like we don't look at race ever, but like money wise, we went to a more affluent area, a middle of the road area, a less affluent area. So we want to get a broad spectrum snapshot of the different registered voters.
Mm-hmm. So you estimated over 96,000 ghost voters. A lady received a ballot, did nothing with it, and apparently that ballot got casted. How many cases like this did you encounter?
So we have a lot. The majority of the 96,389 affected votes from phantom voters, it's either that where the phantom voter voted from an address, and the person living there now who lived there during the voting period, and in Arizona, the voting period was from October 7th to November 3rd. That person either says, I have no idea who that person is, or yes, that person used to live there a long time ago. And so then we look to see whether or not that person on the voter roll actually cast a ballot. And when they did cast a ballot, then that goes into our totals. So you're completely right, Jordan. There was a woman who explained to us that she had been receiving a ballot every election cycle for this person who previously lived there a decade ago. and she would write on the ballot, return to sender, person does not live here, get rid of it. Well, in 2020, she held on to that ballot, and there are actually votes recorded for that person in 2012, 2014, 16, 18, and 20, even the year where that resident kept that ballot.
So, and then you were also encountering vacant lots, right?
Right. So we have vacant lots. There's one in the middle of nowhere, Bureau of Land Management. I mean, I could just go through all of them. There's another one in an active adult area where there are no structures on the vacant lot whatsoever. And then what we find is on these vacant lots, you have a lot of registered voters, and then you have anywhere from 1 to like 80% of the registered voters actually voting from that location. And the thing to note on the vacant lots is we actually go in and we look to see if the registered voter has a secondary address. And the majority of the time, they do not have a secondary address. So here you have a vacant lot, no mailbox. And then, so we don't know how the person, registered voter, got the mail-in ballot. And then it's even more curious how they had it returned to them, and that there is a record of a mail-in ballot returning for this ghost voter.
And then, so for all of this, you're facing intimidation from the DOJ. They're saying that you guys are intimidating voters. I found it funny because you can go canvassing prior to an election and basically try to persuade people to vote for you, and that's perfectly legal. What's the difference between this? What kind of questions are you guys asking?
So
you ask people who they voted for in the previous election. Are you guys even asking that?
Nope. So you're completely right, Jordan. I ran for Arizona State House of Representatives, and before the election, we asked who people planned on voting for president and for US Senate. And then we asked them what issues are important to them. In this case, we're not asking people anything like that. We're asking them, what method did you use to vote? Did you vote by USPS mail? Did you drop it off at a drop box, or did you drop it off at a polling location? Those 3 would count as a vote by mail. Then the other 3, or excuse me, the other 2 would be I voted in person. Well, there's 2 categories for that. One is I voted in person prior to November 3rd, and the other one is I voted in person on November 3rd. So when we collect our data, we're very good at making sure we put them into the right category, and then we check it with the official record. Now, the other thing we ask is, did you receive any extra mail-in ballots? And these numbers, I don't have any to report to today, but I'm sure we will have subsequent reports coming out on the astronomical number of mail-in ballots that should not go to people at certain residences. Then we ask, what did you do with those mail-in ballots? Did you return to sender? We're questioning, where's the accounting on all the ballots that were returned unvotable? I mean, that's just a good question to know.
Just the chain of custody.
Right, exactly. And then the next question we ask is, how many registered voters should there be here? And of those that should be here, how many actually voted? And then we mark what type of structure is it? Is it a residence? Is it a vacant lot? Is it a commercial building? Is it a foundation? Is it a school or government building?
So what is the next step? Will you be releasing more with the Senate audit report?
So our stuff is independent of the Senate report. I hope that Senate President Karen Fann allows us to do some work officially for the Senate report. That would be absolutely amazing. If they read what we have, I think the information, now we're being conservatively low with our numbers, but just be honest, even if our numbers are a smidge high, then you can't unsee what we've seen. That's pretty much what I have to say. We know, and we've known this since December 3rd. We've known this since the first week of December when we started the canvassing. So we're excited. So what's next? We are really hoping that legislation changes so that The mail-in ballot is limited to the military and the disabled. And then another thing we would like to see is smaller precinct sizes. And what the county is trying to do is increase the precinct sizes to 5,000 registered voters. And we're saying, no, we want the precincts to be 1,000 registered voters. And there's a couple reasons I'll go over quickly. One is we want short lines because we want to encourage people to vote in line or vote in person. And then the second one is to hand count the ballots. Instead of paying these machine companies, let's pay the residents of Arizona. And when you have 1,000 registered voters and 70 to 80% turnout, a precinct counting 700 ballots is very easy and doable. We can have the winners announced by midnight. And then when we wake up the next day, the same person that won on election day is the winner the following day. Isn't that a novel idea?
Right, that's right. So how much longer will you be canvassing?
You know, the canvassers ask me that every day. And this is going to sound a little bold of me, but I think the canvassing efforts need to go on in every state until the states recognize that they need to take corrective action. And in the state of Arizona, based on what I've seen, I am calling for decertifying.
Yes. So as I saw State Rep Mark Fincham, same with Wendy Rogers. State Senator Wendy Rogers. She's been doing that for a while. Can you tell us about your website, Canvas 50?
Yeah, Canvas 50 was just launched this morning. We're extremely excited. We've already had almost, we're approaching 50,000 views. We have tens of thousands of people who have signed up. So if you want a free copy of the Maricopa County findings, go to Canvas 50, CANVASS 50.com. And it's strategic. We're just asking you, what method did you use to vote? We're just saying, did you vote in person or by mail? And then as canvases start to organize around the country, that data will go to the teams so that they have a head start. And we've already had tens of thousands of people since this morning tell us what method they used to vote. This is that your data is not being sold or anything. It's not nefarious. Nobody's running for office. Nobody's fundraising. All we want to do is let the world know that the canvas is more important than the count, and that we need to really figure out countrywide what happened November 2020.
That's right. All right. Thank you, Liz.